Hey, I'm Patrick. I make videos talking about the stuff I've been reading. Today I'll talk about the Proslogion by Saint Anselm. Um, this is one of my favorite pieces throughout all church history that I've read so far, and the little that I have read, this is one of my favorites. It's very short, just very just deep. Um, it's one of those things that makes me think we got dumber as a society that this was written like 1,000 years ago. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. The reason I was interested in this is I heard I just seen a couple of YouTube videos talking about like the ontological argument for God's existence. I was curious, and I heard that this was where this was first, articulated or invented. Um, and I thought it was a really interesting like format for an argument for God's existence to be given in this book it's just a prayer. It's essentially just talking to God, contemplating just the his wonder and majesty. Um, but yeah, again, most of my videos I kind of summarize what's going on here. I On this one I really just want to like quote from it a lot because honestly I don't think I can do it justice in my little brain. Um, but yeah, the general gist of like the ontological argument, if you haven't heard it before, it's just kind of it's argument from like the definition of God. So all the other arguments for God's existence come from um, fine tuning, or the cosmological argument saying that everything has a cause. All those have to do with some sort of like observation we do. But this is just purely just like in your mind, just purely just arguing for God, just from just pure logic and just the definition of God. So Anselm, he defines God as that which nothing greater can be thought, and he argues um, that existence is greater than non-existence. So if God is the thing that nothing greater than which can be thought, and he can either be thought to exist or not to exist, the thing that which nothing greater can be thought must exist, because to exist is greater than to not exist. So again, I had to like hear several people explain this and read it, and like for it to finally like click. Just because it's such a simple argument, and it seems like almost silly how simple it is, but honestly the more you think about it, the more you're like, wow, like that is a really just interesting and like compelling argument. And I know a lot of people will just kind of like scoff at that and just be like, oh, that's kind of ridiculous, but I think it's cool. I think it's a very unique way, and I think I heard Gavin Ortland talking about it and saying like this is like if um, God is who we think He is, like this would make sense. This aligns with His character, that this is like a way He'd reveal Himself. Um, I think that's just like beautiful. But anyway, yeah, this book really reminded me of Confessions by Saint Augustine, and apart from the Bible, that's probably my favorite book I've ever read. So I mean, I was definitely gonna I was set up to just love this book. Um, and yeah, so the first chapter he just talks about kind of just like getting himself ready to contemplate these things, and I'll read a quote. It really reminded me of like the first couple chapters of John Calvin's Institutes, where he talks about just kind of like the effects of our own sin in coming to know God and like interacting with general revelation. But yeah, he says in chapter one, uh, yet this image is so eroded by my vices, so clouded by the smoke of my sins, that it cannot do what it was created to do unless you renew and refashion it. So anyway, I'll read a bunch of quotes, but that is just one I really liked from chapter one. And then at the end of this chapter, I thought it was just a beautiful, just way to introduce this is, for I do not seek to understand in order to believe. I believe in order to understand. Just again, just humbling himself before God and just saying like, my mind, there's no way I can contemplate you. There's no way I can understand you. Only if you reveal yourself to me. Kind of like that last quote. It's like, it can't do what it was created to do unless you renew and refashion it. So yeah, then he goes through next few chapters is just him just talking about the ontological argument and comparing God to that which nothing greater can be thought, and then just goes through like all of just a really just complex and just beautiful like reflection on all these different like characteristics of God. And I won't go into all of it. I read it yourself. It's great. Um, but yeah, he keeps going, and I think one of my favorite parts of the whole thing is we skip a lot of chapters here, but chapter 24, like towards the end here, chapters 24 to like 26 is almost just like his kind of like conclusion, in that like all of this, like his whole purpose in all of this is like contemplating on the wonder and majesty of God and the greatness and just the fact that he is that which nothing greater can be thought. This should point us to praising him and to worshiping him and devoting our lives to him. And anyway, yeah, here's a quote from chapter 24. It says, "If created life is good, how good is the life that creates? If the salvation that has been brought about is joyful, how joyful is the salvation that brings about all salvation? If wisdom and the knowledge of created things is desirable, how desirable is the wisdom that created all things from nothing?" Again, just read this book. It's beautiful. Definitely changed the way I look at God. And I think it's honestly, I think the ontological argument, even though I don't really think, Anselm was. Again, it seems like the purpose of this was not to write an academic proof of the existence of God. This is just like, the more we think deeply about God and his character, the more it should move us to worship him, and to change our lives and to obey out of love because of just the magnitude of the God that we worship and the fact that this God loves us, died for us. But yeah, beautiful book. Would definitely recommend. But yeah, thanks for listening. God bless.